If you are an estate agent, letting agent, or someone who is interested in the property market, then the UK Property Market Stats Show, is for you. This show talks about what's happening in the property market, not like the Land Registry 6, 7, 8 months ago, not like the Halifax or Nationwide that looked at the property market, what was happening, I don't know, 2 or 3 months ago. We're talking about house prices from last week. We are talking about transaction levels, sales, listings. And by looking at all those things, we can know what's going to happen to those indexes that we've just mentioned months and months in advance. This show, as I said, is for estate agents that want to prove they know what they're talking about, because all the stats and everything that you can use in the show, you can use at your valuations to make you look like the most knowledgeable agent in town. Why is that important? Because 36% of homeowners choose their estate agent mainly on the local knowledge of that estate agent. So by having that knowledge of the property market, you will look more awesome and get a lot more listings. This week, I'm joined by Ben Madden, a regular special guest of the show. We'll come to Ben in a second. But we are looking at week 17 of 2024, which is Monday, the 22nd of April, all the way through and including Sunday, the 28th. We will be comparing week 17 with other week 17s going back to 2017. And we'll also be looking at year-to-date figures, again, from 2017 all the way up to 2024. So if you're an estate agent, letting agent, or someone who's interested in the property market, then this show is for you. The show is roughly split 2/3, 1/3. The first 2/3 look at the UK property market. We're looking at listings, we're looking at price reductions, sale agreed, fall throughs, net sales and exchanges, and also what's happening to house prices. And then separately, in the last third, we'll be looking at a town or a city as property market. And this week we'll be looking at Slough with the SL1, 2 and 3 postcodes. And that's a bit like a Rightmove Plus report on steroids with a couple of rockets attached to it. This week, I'm joined by Ben Madden. Those of you that watch the show regularly will know him. He comes on the show every 6, 7 weeks and he's an absolute star. He runs his own estate agency in West London. He is big in the game at Fine & Country and an awful lot of people look up to him. Ben, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Lovely intro, as always. My favourite 30 seconds of my 6 weeks between shows.
Bless you, bless you. Well, mate, no one's come to hear us both smoke of each other's backside. So shall we dive a Rooney in
Let's do it
at the stats?
Let's do it.
As always, ladies and gentlemen, what we do is I just spend a couple of minutes looking at the stats. You should be able to see the weekly stats. Nothing else. Is that right, Ben? Just confirming. Yep.
Correct. Yep.
Right. Okay. So this week, in terms of listings, we've put on 39,039 properties, which, to give you an idea, last week it was 39,487, the week before 37.6, the week before 30.3. But again, that's that dip down. That's Easter, kids. Okay. Look at this. Look, this is, we are going to get a dip next week because of May Bank holiday, and we will get another dip at the end of May because of the other bank holiday. Year to date, we're on 592,000 listings year to date. And when you compare that against the 2023 at 541, that means we are 9.5% further on in terms of total number of listings compared to 23. And the average of 17, 18 and 19, which are more average years, that was the average of those is 541,800, which means that we're 9.4% ahead of those sort of levels. The average price of a property coming on the market at 453, and that's been hanging around that level for like a bad smell for an awful long time. And as I said, that's just showing week 17 in isolation compared to the other months. So, Ben, over to you. What's your thoughts on listings, mate? Because I know you've not looked at the stats. You'd like to go in there raw and fresh, don't you?
Yeah, I do like to come in cold turkey. Yeah, look, I mean, it's really refreshing to say it's nice to see more of the same. A little bit of consistency. Last few years, I guess lots of agents, lots of consumers feel a bit beaten up by just how much has happened in such a short period of time. to just be able to track consistently what's going on in the world. Nothing, touch wood, nothing crazy impacting. I had someone trying to tell me what mortgage rates were going to do last week, and I just said, look, we're very different people. This conversation doesn't go very far because you don't know what will happen to inflation. And so as such, you can't talk to me about where mortgage rates are going to go because the Bank of England 1 week is saying one thing, 1 week saying the next. But from a property perspective, to be able to sort of quite comfortably see the direction of travel for listings, I would imagine, I don't know, put words in people's mouth, this is really quite pleasant for agents to be seeing this. No massive uplift, which is going to drastically impact prices negatively, just consistently floating above the results of the last few years. Very nice to see.
Excellent, excellent. Right, let's now move on and look at price changes. And last week we price changed 22,927 properties, which works out at 1 in 6.47 properties per month are being reduced. Okay.
Sorry, say that again, Chris. How many? One in what?
1 in 6.47. Okay. Just to give you an idea, yeah, I mean that the average throughout the years is about 1 in 9. Okay. In terms of the whole UK for the last 7 years. So we are reducing a lot more properties. But again, is that because of overvalue? We are going to be looking at that. And as I said, that's the number of price reductions. The average price, as I said, of a property being reduced is 414,000. Let's remember the average price of a property coming onto the market, 453. Okay.
So Chris, sorry, that 414 is the price of the property when it's reduced, or is the price being reduced to?
At reduction. So that was the price before it got reduced.
Sorry, 414 is the price before it got reduced.
Correct.
Okay, fine. All right. So the higher price properties are dragging up your averages, but interesting. So
that is pretty consistent. If you look at previous shows, the average price of a property being, okay, we're looking at standalone weeks there from the different years, but if you actually look, I'll just have a look. So this is I'm just going to go for the average price of a property being reduced this year. In 2024 is 392,000. And just to give you an idea, this week 414, 416 the week before, 394, 394, 398, 395, 397, 398.
Okay.
Okay. So there's some that's quite a tight range, that is.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
What's interesting though is so we're reducing roughly 1 in 6.5 versus an average of 1 in 9. So that's almost a 50% uplift in the number of properties being reduced versus the long run average.
Remember, yeah, we've got slightly higher stock levels. So let's just pull up the stock levels on that.
So yeah, that was going to be my question to you. Do you think that's related to the higher stock? Although stock is only up 9.5%, a 50% uplift in price reductions seems a little bit disconnected, but is it a combination of slightly more stock? There's slightly more competition for winning instructions, so that old chestnut, the agent's going to slightly overvalue. Is that coming in thick and fast?
Well, it's not 100% proof, but we do have something that you guys in inner London seem to be putting properties on that aren't seem to be selling. Okay, so I'm making a sweeping statement. The inner London is SWW, NWE, and SE. Just to get again, this is the number of properties that are on the market at the end. This is at the end of March. We get these every month. Okay, so we're going to wait until the end of April. And the yellow lines are the same March is going through. So obviously March 22 is much lower. But if you actually look, the stock levels in March 17 and 18 around that 550, 600 mark, and we're at 650. Remembering that in 2008, that was 1.4 million. And that's a stat I like to quote every week. So I'm not particularly concerned, but I would start to get concerned if it started to get to 8 or 900,000. Just fill a second, because I've got an interesting graph that I do want to show you. Just keep filling.
So what, Chris? What I was going to ask you, maybe you can answer this question whilst you're fishing about. So the 654 represents properties currently marketed, not listed as sold subject to contract, or does it include those listed as sold subject to contract?
No, that is properties That is properties that are available for sale, not sold subject to contract. If you want to look at the sold, I'll just pull up the sold subject to contract figures. Hold on. Tell you what, he's working me hard today, ladies and gentlemen, isn't he? There you go. That is the number of properties that are sale agreed.
Okay. So that's quite interesting. If you go to 2019, you're at 641 on market, and just go back to the number, plus 327 under offer. Whereas currently we're at 410 under offer with 654 on the market. That's really interesting. So from a proportion perspective, market conditions are much more positive than people would probably realize.
Yeah, I tell you what, I've just come up with an idea. We could come up with a graph each month which shows the proportionality of sold subject to contract.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there you go. You like that one?
I mean, that's my favorite metric for what the market's doing. Sales agreed versus new to market in a given month, I think is a really good indicator for sentiment, but on both sides. So we're currently looking at 4 out of 10 under offer, whereas previously it was more like 3 out of 9. So that's significant. That's great.
I just want to pull up this graph here, which this is I know you're aware, but I ghostwrite articles on local property markets to attract vendors and landlords to their agency, and this is an article I'm working on at the moment. So I'm just giving you a little sneak preview. So let's just see if we can find that out. So hold on, there we go. Do you know? Hold on, there we go. There we go. Share screen. Never there when you want it, is it? Okay.
What are we talking about?
This awesome graph that I want to show you.
I thought you meant a lager. It's a nice day outside. It's got
don't even go there.
It's got a spring feel about it at the moment. It's a bit chilly, but the sun is shining. Deliver that.
Right then, hold on a second. Here we go. So you should be able to see a graph here on the screen, okay?
Yes.
So what I've done here is I have the red dot are the total number of properties for sale, okay? And the blue line is the number of new properties coming onto the market, okay? And I've indexed them to 100. So therefore, I've looked at all the listings each month and then taken the average for the whole. This is going back to 2017, okay? Okay, so I've looked at each monthly listings and then worked out what the average was, because the average would be 100 on an index, wouldn't it? Okay, don't want to get too heavy here. And then the red lines are the total number of properties for sale, and I've taken the average of since 2017 and indexed it to 100. So the bottom line is this: is if the sales or the stock level is above that 100 line, it's above the running 7-year average, and if it is below the white line, the 100 line, it is below. So you can see here that so you've got new listings versus stock on the market.
I like it.
Okay. And obviously new supply in terms of listings coming on the market always dips down at Christmas. So what happens is that they then dip up, and then what happens is the red line is stock catches up afterwards. So the blue line goes up first, and then the red bars catch it up. So you can see here that stock levels overall are still only around 15% above the long-term 7-year.
Tell you what would make this one of the sexiest graphs I've ever seen.
Let me put sales on it.
Oof.
Yeah,
Chris. Oh, talking my language.
Do you want sales on that?
Sales on that would be just send that to me when I'm lonely. That'll put a smile on my face.
Okay, I'm gonna I'll tell you what, as a gift from mano to mano. Okay, that graph again, that is coming your way. And again, ladies and gentlemen, we're just the show that loves to give. So we'll just put that back. Right.
And anyone who's thinking, what a pair of nerds.
Yeah.
That's all right. You know, I can't help. I can't stress this enough. This data is so powerful for fueling a conversation. I'm not suggesting it's going to be make or break for your agency, but the ability to talk about the property market at scale with real data and where we are versus the last 7 years, because in the last 7 years, you've got a cycle that represents where you are right now. And that's what people want. They want the economists, the behavioral economists. They want to know what's happening right now. That 7 years fuels that conversation. I think it's so powerful, and it's genuinely interesting. I know everyone's not as much of a geek as me, but your seller, they're quite interested in what's going on and how it impacts their property price. And this helps that conversation for sure. Yeah, I think that's great, Chris. Please do it.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, 10,000 vendors were questioned by the Property Academy in their home moving survey, and 36% of homeowners said the estate agent proving that they knew the property market was the reason they chose their estate agent. And what I would say to you, ladies and gentlemen, is this: whilst I ask that you do not use these on social media, okay, because my daytime job is I provide local data and national data to estate agents around the country to show them that they are the most knowledgeable agent and they can post this. I have no issue whatsoever with you using this both internally and at your free valuations. Okay, so if you go to my YouTube video, look in the write-up description, scroll down to the bottom, there'll be a thing that says download graphs. You can download those and you can look knowledgeable. Why? Because you don't put them on social. 36% of homeowners chose their estate agent because of their local market knowledge. Why don't you talk about these things? Okay. I mean, if all else fails, just share some of the Halifax price index. But again, this is better than the house price index. But of course, I'm going to say that, aren't I? Because I'm the one that wrote it. Right. Let's crack on. Back to, should we do the sales?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. And I've written down on my pad of loveliness. What you're, hold on a second, we're all over the shop today. Right, so share screen, there we go. Sales, there we go. So this week, gross sales are at 27,712. Last week, it was 27,071. This is the best week for house sales since July 22.
Sorry, Chris, give me the numbers. 27,000.
712. The best week for house sales since July 22. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, let that marinate for a minute. Like that's quite a big statement. That's if the last 18 months people have felt beaten up, we're now looking at more stock coming to the market and more sales agreed than we've seen in getting on for 2 years. I'm not saying it's rainbows and unicorns. It's still hard work. It's still hard graft. It's still fight for everything. It's still deliver great service. Still work harder than your neighbor. But right now, there's no argument around opportunity. The opportunity is there if you're willing to go get it. So this is brilliant news.
I mean, to give you an idea, okay, just so you're aware, last year, let's just do the sales. There we go. Hold on. 26,237. Okay, and as I said, look at this. Now this is just mind blowing. Okay, 2021 was a mind blowing year. Okay, that's not a huge difference, mate, is it? 27.
Really, I mean, 120%, 125%. Yeah, I mean, it's but yeah, 2021 was absolutely insane.
Okay, I mean,
and the first half of 2022 wasn't far off it, and we're punching in numbers very similar.
There you go. The average price of a property sale agreed. So this is the asking price of the property when it went to sale agreed, 364. Let's just remind ourselves the average price of a property coming on the market, 453. Okay.
What do you say, 364?
364, and it's been around that 350, 360 mark since last 18 months. Not changed.
So is that the smaller properties are selling?
Yes.
And it's just pulling down the averages.
That's it. There you go. This graph shows you each week the average listing price of everything coming on the market, and the orange line shows you the average asking price of a property that went to sale agreed. That doesn't mean that they're having a drop of 20%. Lower price properties have a higher propensity to sell. Just so I get often asked, what was that big lump there? That's what happened. That's London, mate. You guys in London. Here's an interesting fact, mate. Okay, well, this is about London. London has 13.2% of the population, but over 34% of the rental market.
34%.
Yeah,
Wow, that is an interesting one.
yeah. That's why
When you say rental market, are we talking total units?
we're talking, and what I did there is I looked at average properties coming onto the market stock levels.
Okay.
Okay. That's
Interesting.
why, I mean, what is particularly interesting is that's why people quote average rents excluding London. Because it really just screws the figures up. You need something excluding London. It just blows everything out of the water.
Well, I saw a piece on the trade press today that you can rent a 2-bed flat in Carlisle for £603 a month. And I know first-hand experience a room in London. Not that I'm renting a room in London at the moment, but a room in London could go for £1,100-1,200.
Yeah, but you got a Pret a Manger in every corner, mate. You know,
Yeah,
is there a Pret a Manger in Carlisle?
Yeah, there are lots of perks. But yeah, that bread and manger is costing you a fortune as well. So disposable income out the window. That's why you're living in a room. Yeah, it's
Yeah, but the streets are paved with avocado toast, mate. Remember that.
mate, that's from what I understand, that's spreading far and wide, the old avocado toast. That's
You know,
becoming common.
I discovered it 12 months ago. Mind
Oh.
blowing. With a little bit of, well, lots of Tabasco sauce on it. I get through a bottle of Tabasco sauce once every 2.5 weeks. I don't know if I have a problem with it, but I do love it.
Yeah, but is that more to do with a Bloody Mary than
No, no,
avocado toast?
no. I like my IPA, and I don't think even I would have IPA with although I did have it once with Brewdog. It's really nice, but they haven't made it since. Anyway, people haven't come to talk to us, listen to our banter. Right, so there's the number of sales, 27,000, the average price, 364. Year to date, let's get back, because we're being, serious. 404,929 gross sales, which is 10%, exactly 10% further on than the 23 figure, and 7.9% more than the 17, 18, or 19 average. And as I said, that is the white line shows us 2024 versus the more normal years of 17, 18, 19, and 23. But again, ladies and gentlemen, we are about to enter the bank holiday season. So we're going to have a bit of a roller coaster, which again, the doommongers will absolutely love. And then they'll bounce back and then it'll go down again. Notice how all sales drift off throughout the summer. So be aware of that. You should be making hay now while the sun shines. Anything else on sales, mate, before we move on?
No, I mean, I'm finding the average list price, average reduction price, and average sale price really interesting. And just wonder the regional variations on that, because the 365 average sale price in the southeast is going to be a 1-2 bedroom flat. And I'm just wondering where the numbers skew. It's
London really does affect this, and if you take
Yeah.
London, it does make a difference. And there's quite a huge difference between inner London and outer London. Outer London, so inner London is classified, as I said, as W, SW, SE, E, N, and NW, right? Okay.
Mhm.
The gap is massive, truly massive. Whilst outer London, which is, suburbia, your TWs and your
Yeah.
stars and all the other postcodes, that gap is so tight. But if you think about it, if all you're putting on the market is suburban 3-bedroom semis, which is that outer London basically core, there isn't going to be that much difference.
Mm.
Now this is particularly interesting. Is I used to measure the regional figures on all of these metrics and did do up until last year. But when I actually looked at the fact that it took me not 8 minutes to get the UK data, but an hour to get the regionals, nothing really changed between the regions apart from use lines in inner London. Okay. And what happens generally is this: everything moves up and down like the tide. Okay, be it price reductions, be it gaps, it all, it's weird that Carlisle would almost be doing the same as Basingstoke. Absolutely crazy. So I thought, well, if there's not much difference in the data, because this takes 5 hours to do. I don't want it to take 6. Right. Anything else on sales before we move on?
No, just it's very positive. I think we're looking at cumulative sales are down roughly 10% on 2022. Which again, you would absolutely take that, wouldn't you? Because 2022 was a nice buoyant year.
Yeah, 2022. Yeah, it was 449, so that is about 10%. Yeah, and
Yeah.
obviously 21 was a bit of a slightly, but again a crazy year. But again, I'd take that,
Yeah, so would I. Absolutely.
especially when Kwasi Kwarteng did his budget in late 22. But there you go. That's another story from the day. Right, fall
Well, I
throughs.
remember being on here with you about a year ago and saying, you know what, I think we'll catch ourselves up. And it just didn't really happen. How many people sat on the fence? Inflation did what it did, mortgage rates did what they did. And now this year there's a bit of catching up, which is great. Yeah, I think agents up and down there, hopefully positive about the situation they find themselves in.
Good stuff. So in terms of fall throughs this week, we've got the fall through is 5,930. Okay. And the fall through percentages are at 21.4. So we'll just have a look at this graph here. The base level, so this was this here at the end of here. This is the summer of 22, slightly rising to 30%. Then we had the Kwarteng budget. So we went up to 40%. She started to drift down in November and December. Ignore the spikes because that this is a percentage, normal sale rate around 20,000 sales, normal fall through rate 5,000. During Christmas, sales might go down to something like, I don't know, 4,000, but fall throughs might be like 2,000. So that bunches the percentage up. So just ignore those spikes. It's the trend you're looking at. So she was bubbling around in early 23, around that 2021 mark. Interest rates started to kick in the spring, in the late spring, early summer of 23. So we went up to 30%. We drifted downwards through September and October in the fall through rate, ignore the Christmas lump, and then we've been bouncing around that 20 or 21 level. Now, there you go. Now, Ben, look at this. Am I the gift that keeps giving? Oh, look at that.
You are the gift that keeps giving. I'll give you that. It's really
So
interesting, isn't it? With this, the abortive rate that's always, for as long as I can remember, that's been thrown around is 1 in 3. But this data really pushes back on that.
the long-term average is 24.7.
Yeah, 1 in 4. Yeah.
So again, this is what is, so 17 and 18 around that 21 mark. 2020 we had a lot of fall throughs because of COVID. 22 was the Kwarteng budget. 23 was the interest rates, and as I said, we're now year to date at 22.6. So that just shows you that I think the level state is 21, 22, and then if anything happens, they bunch back. They bang themselves up. That is the standalone weeks, which again I think is quite nice to see, and that's the number there. So anything? Do you like that? Pretty colours, aren't they? Don't get
Lovely colours, very creative of you.
There you go. I'm getting into Canva, mate. There you go.
Oh, are you? Wow, Canva's got you. Oh,
So best 100 quid you spend in your life, that is, mate. Right, okay. Should we move on and look at net sales?
yes, please.
So, ladies and gentlemen, net sales are as follows. Net sales is the number of gross sales in a week less the number of fall throughs from the sales pipeline. It's not an ideal measurement, but it's not bad at all. Okay, so here we go. So the number of net sales this week are, let's just have a look at the graph. Number of net sales is 21,782. And we'll just compare that again. So hold on, where's the graph? You always bring that. So in terms of net sales, we are at the 317,700, which is 11.9% further on than 2023 and 10.53% further on than 17 or 18, 19. In terms of year to date, just to give you an idea in terms of net sales, hold on a second, here we go. Last week it was 21,089. The week before 20,700. Week before 16,500. But again, that was Easter. Week 30, 19 to 27, 20.7, 20.7, and 19.9. So I certainly suspect that we're going to get a dip down again for the bank holiday. Definitely 2. And again, I know if you look at the graph, if you download the graph, the orange line is 17 to 19. Now, what you'll find is the 17 and 19, because they're the average of 3 years, the dips are a little bit softer because of the different weeks that Easters and bank holidays felt. But fundamentally, if you look at the individual years, they are all over like a roller coaster. So don't be alarmed, ladies and gentlemen, that will it be next week's figures? No, but
week
afterwards, the week afterwards, that number will dip down to around 15,000 before all the doomongers start getting their flags out. Bless them.
And so, Chris, net sales, just next graph along, how do we compare to 2022? 356 off 317. Okay. Yeah.
Not bad, is it?
No, it's not bad. It's not.
And this is just week 17 standalone compared to other years. We'll just have a couple of other graphs, some ex-country. Why I do like this stat, looking at gross sales as a percentage of listings, and also price changes. Okay. Anything else on this before we go to Slough?
No, let's check Slough out. Let's home of Ali G. I'm here for this.
Do you know? I bet the people in Slough get really, really what's named off about that. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let us go to Slough. Right, mate. So what we're going to do here is, now, before we kick off, the data that we are going to be using today is mainly from a firm called 20EA, okay? And we are going to be using their Insights platform. The Insights platform is a bit of kit that every estate agent has access to. They have a free version that you can use, which gives you limited amount of data for over a small period of time. And then if you want the data that I'm going to be showing to you, going back to the years that I'm going to be showing you, you have to cross their palms with silver. You do not mention my name because I'm not on commission. But at the end of the day, this bit of kit, and again, this is be of interest to any agent watching this, if you're suffering from fees, overvaluing, proving that you are worth a better agent, then there's nothing better than independent data. And quite simply, this is Rightmove Plus on steroids with 2 Saturn 5 strapped to it with lasers and glitter balls. This can prove that you are a better estate agent, charge higher fees, and stop losing properties to overvaluing. As I said, I am a massive fanboy of it, but I'm not getting any commission from it. I just love it. And there you go. I think that's only fair, isn't it?
I think that's very fair. You've been very, very fair, as always.
Right then, so let us go and have a look at the stats. Okay, mate, here we go. So we're going to kick off and look at residential sales first, okay? So awful lot to go here, so we will dive in and have a look. For the purposes of this, we are treating Slough as SL1, 2 and 3. Ladies and gentlemen, I fully appreciate that Slough is almost like a fly's eye. You've got Burnham and you've got different parts, Chippenham, and other different areas, but I'm classing it as one. And I do know at the top end of SL3, well, sorry, SL2, there is a bit which goes up to other agents, but I couldn't split those out. So therefore, that is what I'm looking at, ladies and gentlemen, okay? So that will be advantageous to some of you and probably not so at others, okay? So here we go. Hold on tight. This is going to be about half an hour to show you who is the performing agents. There will be some letting stuff at the end. Okay. So we are looking at from the 1st of January 2019 through to the 27th of April 2024. And this is the number of new instructions that are coming onto the market. And you can see here that, and again, let's just look at March, because that's well, actually, hold on a second, it's 29th, so we can look at this. So the number of new listings that came on the market in April 2019 was 268, obviously 24 in 2020 because we were in the middle of lockdown. And then that's quite interesting is that the number of listings has remained pretty constant. And I know we've got a couple more days left, but in most circumstances, the number of listings that are on the market that have been coming on the market has been vastly greater compared to previous years. And I know we've got a couple more days to go, and in March you did, but it looks like here that the number of listings has been quite low in April. And again, I know we've got a couple more days left to go, but I would, in other locations, if let's say it's 314, I would last year or 310 in April 22, I would be expecting a figure of around 500. If
Really?
yeah,
What? So, is this data reported in real time, or is it on a feed for maybe yesterday or?
well, this is a feed from so this is month to date. So and again, if you look, March was greater. So looking at March 2024, 400
Yeah.
listings on the market compared to 327. But if I was, and I know I've got a couple more days to go, but if I was comparing Slough against the national average, I would in the south, I would expect more listings than this.
Yeah. So
Probably,
you're looking at so
probably
yeah, I
not
guess
500, but I would be
maybe 450. Yeah.
yeah, around 420, 430, and at the moment she's sticking at 287. So it looks like listings is a little hard work in Slough. Interesting.
Well, yeah. Although, yeah, maybe.
Okay,
What was it last year in April? What's the figure?
314.
314. So you expect it to be at, you want to be at 340 or 287. Might get there. Might get there with 2 days to go.
Might day, but might day. Mate, this is great bloke because of the beard. But again, nationally, we were about 15% further on than last year in terms of listings, and down south, we are a little bit further on than that. So interesting times. Right, okay. So the average price of a property that's come on the market since 2019, 456, and 19,678 properties have come on the market. Let's just see. There's a big thing there. Who's that spike? So that looks like heart. So that might be they dumped all their out. Again, those spikes quite often are when an agent changes his CRM. So let's just check that. We can see if we can knock that off. Doesn't make a huge difference. I suspect that is a new CRM dump. Okay, so we can look at that. I think the magic thing here is this. Let's look at individual agents and see how their market share has been affected over the years. Okay, so here we go. So we start off with the Frost Partnership. And they seem to be bouncing all over the place between 6% and 10%. Oakwood Estates.
Oh,
Oh, we like that.
nice.
Yeah. So again, let's just run 456 is the average price, so we can get a flavour of which agent is a posh agent or a not run of the mill, but what marketplace they go for. So Frost 503, so they're just slightly above, so they do middle to upper market. So we'll call them the Marks and Spencers. Oakwoods, yeah, they're great. Well done, Oakwoods. Let's go look at Chancellors. Okay, guys, it looks like you're slightly dropping there from around the 7 or 8 mark to the around 3% mark. Let's go and look at B7, and their average price is 357.
Yeah. Mm.
Okay, B Simmons, it looks like you had a good 2019, but you've had a slight growth and then just been hovering around that 4 or 5% mark. Let's go and look at Connells. Pretty static there around the 5. Staples and King, looks like you guys are pretty static as well. Hart.
Chris, sorry, the average price in Slough is 456. Have we come across an agent that gets close to the average yet?
Yeah, let's have a quick look. Oakwood 520.
Only Oakwood. Everyone else is below the average, is it?
Well, Frost as well. So we are going to
Frost Star. Okay.
we are going to have a quick look at the. We are going to look at the who's the posh agents. Let's go and look at Hart. Again, that big spike is affecting everything there. Okay, let's go and look at Romans. Again, just treading water there around 4%. Snow Rourke. Well done, guys. A little bit. Looks like you had a good run just into going into COVID, and you've kept it since. Hilton, King, and Lock. Be static there around the 3.5, 3 mark.
That's a serious price point if the average is 456.
632. There you go. So again, they might be a posh agent. So again, we'll remember that. Roger Platt. I think they're part of Connell Sequence, if memory serves me well. Okay. Glen Flags, there you go. Looks like you guys have been drifting downwards. So again, the getting more stock is really, really important. We'll probably touch on that in a bit. Let's go look at Purple Bricks. Not unexpected. Their market share is dropping, although you've heard it here from me, mate. Purple Bricks' market share has been growing consistently for the last 5 months.
Has it?
Nationally, yeah.
Nationally, any numbers on that?
Yeah, I mean, they're coming off a low base, but their market share has increased by about 50%. But remember, they were
Hmm.
were really low. So just
Interesting.
yeah, okay. But again, I mean, they in terms of pure brand, they still are the largest agent by pure brand,
As in
not
by brand awareness or by listings
by
for that brand.
listings.
Oh,
Listing
okay, yeah,
that brand. So again, your Connell sequence have multiple brands.
yeah.
If you add them all up together, there is really only one big daddy agent in the UK, and that is Connell Sequence. They have about 8.5% of the market. Okay, there is no one that comes anywhere close to them. They are the silent giant of the estate agency, and good for them. Because what is particularly interesting is I published some work a couple of months ago, and I looked at the top 25 estate agents' market share compared to a couple of years ago, and every single one of the top 25 estate agents, apart from, so you've got the Connell Sequence Group, they've stood still. Savills have grown, EXP have gone through the roof. Just about everyone else has dropped. Market share proportional drop 8%.
Hmm.
And the stars are EXP. Watch them. You heard it here first, kids. Foxtons. Now, they're big on new homes, so let's just knock that new homes out. That's not bad, but they have like a central office, a Berkshire office, so that's
Yeah.
interesting. Okay, let's go look at Focus. The Flatman Partnership. Okay, guys, you're stronger in 19. Let's go look at Cameron King. Allers. Well done, guys. You seem to be great. Langhams. We'll go up to the top 30. Hamptons. Oh, look, Posh Price. We'll come back to that one.
Oh,
Your
wow.
Gibbs Gillespie. It's just on the edge of their territory. Foreman King. Posh agent. Savills. Really posh agent. Move estate agents. Elsewhere. S. John. Lambord and Carmody, and then finally Hunters. Okay, let's go and have a look at which agent is the posh agent. Okay, so we'll look at probably the top 2 or 3,000 properties and see who the agents are of choice in the posh. Okay, so we'll go from 750 upwards. Hold on a second. There we go. So now that's really interesting. The Frost, although they did have a high average, didn't they? Frost Partnership. Go on.
No, I was coughing. I was agreeing with you.
Okay, so this is the market share for new instructions. Oakwoods, they're growing. Well done, Oakwoods. Hamptons,
Scroll down a bit, Chris,
yeah.
just so we can see the map. Thanks. The chart.
Hilton Lock, Savills, Foreman King, Foxtons. We'll do the top 10.
So now, Chris, though, the average property price we're looking at is the average price of properties in the brackets you set, right?
Yes. So
Yeah,
therefore,
okay.
between 750 and no upper limit, out of all the properties that you put on between that range, what is the average
Yeah.
within that range? Okay.
Yeah.
So was Savills the big 1.8? Were they the big daddios? Hilton Lock do some posh houses, don't they? Well, Hamptons as well. Oakwoods. So obviously Hilton Lock and Savills are your posh agents. You're probably your Selfridges or Harrods food hall, whilst your Frost Partnership is your Waitrose. That's nice. I'm impressed with Oakwood Estates. They're growing all over.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just have a quick look at stock levels. Okay, and you can see that, no, this is really interesting. Okay, so this is the number of properties that are for sale at the end of every month, or well, that's the number that you wait to the end of the month. And you can see stock levels have hardly changed in Slough. We're best at full months. That is particularly interesting. So at the moment, at the end of March, 1,647 properties for sale compared to 1,412. Stock levels are only about 15% higher than they were back in 2022. Again, I would expect that to be nearer 40 to 50%. Yeah, that's quite interesting.
But also, they didn't see much of a drop off last year, which is interesting.
Yeah. Right. Anything on this before we go and look at which agent gets closest to the asking price?
No, let's do it.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, there's an awful lot of stats here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to choose to go from There we go. So I'm just looking at this. So the last 12 months. So that is the, hold on, I'm going to go, there we go. The 28th of April, 2023 to the 27th of April, 2024. So that's one calendar year. Okay. Now what you'll find here is estate agents will, this is a bit of a geek heaven for us, isn't it? But for everyone else, let me explain what's happening here, because there is some true gold in here, and there is, for some agents, that can prove that you are quite simply the best estate agent. Okay, so most estate agents will look at the new instruction and the new instruction market share from the last year, and again, that's what agents, they love market share, because everyone loves them, and it just shows, it's like they just want everyone to love them. And we could also look at the sale agreed numbers and look at the percentages of sale agrees that you do. So that's all great. Love it. Let's just ignore that. Okay. Ben, I want you to start looking at the price changes and fall throughs just to see if there's anyone that screams at you that's really high or really low. You know what's coming, so I'll just explain it now once you do your sums. This is where the true magic happens, ladies and gentlemen, the exchanged and withdrawal ratio. A property will only leave an estate agent's books if it exchanges or withdraws. Okay, if a sale falls through, it goes back on the market, it hasn't left your books. So the simple fact is this: for every property it leaves your books of your estate agency, you only get paid on exchanges, obviously. But what proportion of the properties that you are leaving your books are you being paid on? And Oakwood, so the average in Slough is 41.61%. Okay, whilst look, there is a massive range here. This is, I mean, last week we were in Southend and you couldn't put a fag packet between these. Here, this isn't a band, it's an orchestra. It's absolutely massive in terms of which agent is performing. And what is particularly interesting is the two agents who are obviously the kingpin agents in the town, which is Oakwood and Frost. Their exchange ratio is very impressive at that. There's not much to call between them at 62%. So Oakwood and Frost are being paid on 62%, or rack, give or take a few extra after the decimal point. That is really, really impressive. So well done,
Yeah,
guys.
it is.
Yeah, that is really impressive. Considering that, you know, you've got Connells at 37. So again, if I was Oakwoods or Frost and going up against Connells, you could say, Mrs. Miggins, you have with Connells just over a 1 in 3 chance of moving. With me, you have nearly a 2 out of 3 chance of moving. Oh, and here is the proof.
You're twice as likely to sell with me. Yeah, I mean, it's astonishing, really, that Connells have managed to get themselves into third place with such a low exchange rate. They've got a great value, or 46% on price change. So the average is 45%. So that's sort of fairly common in the area. I mean, it's quite impressive that they've managed to get that level of stock when they're not that great at selling it compared to their competitors.
That is pretty synonymous with that firm around the country. Not normally as low as that. They are just slightly behind. B. Simmons at 51, Foxton's at 29, Stables and King at 64, Chancellor's at 29, Hilton, King and Lock at 48. Now that's really impressive with Hilton, King and Lock, because remember, ladies and gentlemen, they do deal with the posh upper end properties which have a lower propensity to sell. Big round of applause to Jackson O'Rourke at 77. That is very impressive. Okay.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, we'll just have a quick look at all the other agents and just see. There's some new homes in here, so we just have to take them, ignore those. But again, it just gives you a flavour of what's happening in the property market. And again, if you are an agent and you're looking to get more listings and prove that you're worth your fee, having data like this is so important, because remember, it is independent data by 20 EA, who are backed by 20 CI. This is really important stuff. Anything on the fall throughs or price changes that catches your eye?
Well, I mean, chances a poor sales rate, 29%, backed up by a horrendous. I mean, what you say, it depends how you want to look at it. 73% price change, and they're still at that poor sales rate. That's shocking, actually.
We're not calling chances or any agents in this whatsoever. We're just using this data. Stop laughing, okay?
Look, Chris, you've got to present a balanced view. I've just got to tell it as I see it. Chancellors do better. That is poor. That's diabolical. If the average is 41% of your exchange on 29 and you're hitting nearly 74% of customers for a price reduction, something's not right there. There's a disconnect. Needs to be addressed.
Okay, right. Well, thank you for your input on that one. I couldn't possibly agree with you. Right, yeah, that is quite a high figure as well. So just be aware of that. And there's no trouble with working your stock as long as you get the sales. So
Yeah, sorry, just to be clear, like this is not like, for instance, let's just use another example. Jackson O'Rourke with the highest exchange figure, 77%, they are still at 55% for price changes. So they are making the price change conversation work for their client. They're doing it right because their exchange rate is astonishing. So the price change 73%, I mean, that is a very high number, but you know, I get it. It might be the strategy. It might be that you are dealing with consumers behaving a certain way, and you know, you're easily led by the consumer to allow them to set the price. But then you've got to be more disciplined to get them to the right price after it's failed after a few weeks. And Jackson O'Rourke, amazing, phenomenal, well played.
okay, well, before we go to the next screen, which shows you whether which agents are overvaluing and how close you get to the asking price, I just want to give a quick message out to all the slough agents if you're struggling for listings on how you could potentially get more listings. Losing listings to the competition really hurts. But what hurts even more is when you don't get called out for the valuation in the first place. Yes, you might have 5% of the property market. You might even have 15% and might be number one agent in the town. But that does mean that still 85% of the people haven't called you out. So if you're a slough agent, listen up in the next 5 minutes, and I'm going to show you how, using a proven technique, how you can get called out to more valuations, higher fees, counteract landlords leaving you, and actually attract landlords to you. You see, I've been looking at most of your slough Facebook groups, and all you seem to do is talk about yourselves. Listing, 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 market share. Look how awesome we are. That's great. But that's like the person at the party talking about themselves. If you want to be an attraction agent in Slough to attract homeowners and landlords, you have to create content which is really interesting and attractive to Slough homeowners and Slough landlords. That's why my name is Chris Watkin, produce content for estate and letting agents to attract landlords to them. I've been going over now for 10 years, and over 120 agents around the UK use me to attract landlords and vendors to their agency. And I would like to show you briefly in this second the sort of things that I produce for agents. You see, Slough homeowners are obsessed about the Slough property market. So therefore, on your social media, if you talked about what was happening in the Slough property market and then posted it onto your group and also into local Facebook groups, people would be fascinated. And it's the attention game. How do you get the eyeballs? Well, you talk about stuff that's of interest to Slough people. So this is the sort of thing that I produce for agents a couple of times a week. You know, the average price of paid in Slough. And then we've got other things where we could do heat maps where we look, here we go, the number of homes with energy performance certificates A, B, and C. But we don't just have to do Slough, we could do Sippenham as well. We could also look at the number of houses that have sold, the percentage of homes without central heating. These are just examples. This is just a mere taster of what I can produce for agents. The pound per square foot in Slough, and even some of you do cover little areas of Slough. So we could do Burnham and whatever area you want. We can create content that shows you that you are the most awesome agent and you know what's happening in the UK as well. You can see what's happening. And then you could put a logo here at the bottom with your logo on, okay? With, again, you can be putting out what's happening to the property market. 36% of homeowners chose their estate agent, according to a survey of 10,000 vendors with the Property Academy last year, based on their local property market knowledge. If all you're pumping out is listings, that's great, but it's not proving your local market knowledge. But this is. And this is the sort of content that I can provide for you 2 or 3 times a week to get you the people's eyeballs and attention on you. So they contact you, they go themselves on the mailing list, they want to know what's happening. This is just a mere taste of what I can produce. You haven't seen half of what I can produce, but this is just a mere taste. So I can only work for one agent per town. So if any Slough agent is looking for and a competitive advantage over their competitors, then give me a call. My name is Chris Watkin on 07950 147 572. All this costs £350 plus VAT a month, and I can only work for one agent per town. Is that you? Or shall I go and help your competitors get listings off you? Anyway, that's the end of the advertisement, and we'll now go back to the show. Okay, so on this screen here, what we're looking at is, again, a lot of data here, ladies and gentlemen, but again, the devil is in the detail. So therefore, what 20EA have actually said here is that the average listing price of a property in Slough is £550,000. They have then looked at the last 12 months so Oakwoods have put on 366 in the last 12 months, and they have done an automated valuation model on every single one of your listings, as they have with the Frost partnership and everyone else. And then they've compared to what they think the house is worth versus what you have put it onto the market for. So therefore, this is what could be best described as, do you overvalue or do you not? Okay, so Oakwoods overvalued by 1.55, Frost partnership 0.36, Connell's at 1.89, Foxton's at 2.56, and on we go. And obviously Jackson O'Rourke here, they keenly price the property, so they're just slightly below. Again, is it the right sort of AVM? There's no such thing as a perfect AVM, ladies and gentlemen, but what there is if they're using the same metrics for the whole town, you're comparing apples with apples. The average overvaluation of a property is 0.81% in the last year. What then happens is they then look at what you achieved for the property once it's been through the land registry. So they look at what you actually achieved to the house, okay? And then compared it to the original asking price that you put the house on the market for, the original asking price. So therefore, Oakwoods overvalued by 1.5%, and then from the original asking price, get 4.5% less. Whilst Frost Partnership, 0.36% overvalue and get 2.91% less. And you can go down. Now, adding and taking percentages are quite difficult. So therefore, the 20EA model basically says this. If everyone put on a £550,000 house, what would you achieve for it? Oakwoods would achieve 533, Frost would achieve 539, Connell's 543, Simmons 525, Foxton's 545, Staples and Kings 53, and all the way down. So again, if you actually look here, the agents that seem to be getting, I mean, let's just go back to Hilton Lot. They get £7,094 more than the average Slough estate agent for a house, an average.
Jackson O'Rourke, Chris. Jackson O'Rourke are just setting the world alight here. So there's, yes, marketing strategy, it feels like it's an offers over, but minus 0.17% doesn't feel like enough of a pricing strategy to go for the offers over approach to generate more activity. But they're making £11,000 more per listing, per sale, but they're also converting it. Was it 78%? I mean, that is magnificent.
There you go.
77%, yeah.
So this shows, according to the 20EA data, that if you realistically price the property with a great marketing strategy, you will have a greater chance of getting the property away and for a better price.
But also what's interesting looking at this, Chris, is that they've also got 55% price reduction rate, even though their pricing strategy sort of based on this graph looks like maybe they wouldn't need to do that. Yeah, 55% they reduce on. So that's really interesting. I would love to sit in their office for a couple of days and see how they handle new listings to the market.
Excellent. Excellent. So you can see here, if you're an estate agent and you want to prove that you get more money, Mrs. Miggins, this shows you that I sell more house, you've got a greater chance of selling. And this graph here shows you, I mean, this is gold, absolute gold. Now, you've got to be really careful the way you use this marketing. And again, if you take up the platform with 20EA, they'll tell you what you can and can't say, so you don't get a pair of stinging eggs with the ASA. But there's some fantastic stuff here to show that you are a better estate agent. Let's just have a quick look at some other stats which could be of interest. And we're looking here at how long an estate agent takes to find a buyer and then take it through to exchange and completion. So you can see here that the biggest estate agents are Frost and Oatwoods. They take 66 days at Frost to find a buyer in the last year and 67 days. But then if you then compare that, so there you go, so sold up to contract to completion, 120 days and 113 days at Oatwoods. Now that again is quite nice to see. Oatwoods and Frost are the biggest estate agents, and they are towards the top in terms of quickness of sale. Whilst you look at Romans and Connells, look at this. I mean, come on, guys, at Connells, 247 days from new instruction to completion. Need to be doing better than that.
Yeah, that's outrageous. But look, there's my Huckleberry again. Jackson O'Rourke, top 6 for speed, gets the most money, values correctly, best conversion rate. That's the business to keep your eye on if you're in Slough. What are those guys doing? How do you replicate it?
Isn't this interesting that out of the top 10 estate agents, the agents that are not independent are the slowest estate agents to get the houses sold? The bottom 4 are corporately owned estate agents. Nothing against corporate estate agents. Just want to say that for the record. The simple fact is that the 4 big corporate estate agents in Slough take much longer, on average around 220 days to sell, whilst the independent agents are coming in at around 170 days. That's 2 months. Come on, guys. Come on, guys. Interestingly, it takes, this is the whole of Slough, 91 days to find a buyer and 117 days to do a completion. Let's see how that compares to last year. 67 days and 131 days. So interestingly, the said agreed to completion has gone down by around 16 days. I think 16 days, but the number of days it takes to find a buyer, 67 days up to 91 days. Okay, let's just move on. There's that spike. I think that's the heart spike, but it just shows you what's happening to new instructions, levels, and sales agreed going back to 2019. This particular graph here shows you the asking price, in the national. We showed you this figure for the national figures. This is a new graph which shows you for the town, and you can quite clearly see here that the red line is the average asking price of a property coming on the market. It's been steadily growing. But isn't it interesting that look at that exchange figure? That whilst that red line has been growing since the early 22, the green line has been pretty static. See that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And on average, as I said, 94% of percentage of initial asking price achieved compared to the year before at 95. And you can see that there you go. Look at the gap. In the last six and a bit years, the average asking price of the new instruction, as I said, 525 versus the exchange at 461. Okay, just have a quick look, just see how agents are moving. So this shows you the hybrid agents, which is your purple bricks and your Yopas, but also your, EXPs of this world. Have you noticed there was no EXP agent? I didn't see any.
Yeah, I mean, there'll be one soon enough.
Yeah. Okay. So that just shows you the split of what hybrid agents are. So you can see here, this is stock flows. So in March, 101,358 properties available, of which, look at that, 275 of them withdrew by the end of the month, and 156 went to sale agreed. It's not many sales, is it?
No, it's not.
So therefore, when your property was on the market in March, you had probably a 12% chance of actually selling it. Not very good, is it? Not very good at all. And then there you go. Then let's just see what happened to stock levels. This is sales pipelines. So there were 750 properties at the start of the month in estate agents pipelines, and of which 220 exchanged and still 495 in the. Obviously, we had a few withdrawals and a few available. So that means that sale fall throughs that went back into the system. There's your fall through rate, 20%. Okay. Should we now move on? Finally, we'll just do the lettings. Okay. So, wow, look at this. Ladies and gentlemen, there you go. Open rent. So back in 2019, on average, 4 or 5% of properties that were going on the market were with open rent, and now it's 25%. This is an interesting stat for you. Is whilst there are four landlords selling up has gone up by 43% this year compared to the 7-year average, but the number of landlords buying is down by 20%, looking at the stamp duty levels. The first stat came from capital gains, because you're going to get capital gains clobbered. Interesting. See, therefore, you're going to say, well, hold on a second, the number of rental properties must be dropping. And it's not, because you're working different percentages off who's buying and who's selling. The net effect is still the number of rental properties is growing. The
So,
point
Chris, how many you say landlords buying is down by what amount? What
20%,
percentage?
20%.
Sorry, 20.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the number of landlords selling down is up 43. But you're talking 43 off one number and 20% off another number. Forget
So the
that.
net position is almost identical.
It's net growth, but it's not as much as it used to be.
So what is the net growth at the moment?
Net growth is it's in single figures. I should have that stat to my hand, but it is net growth because I do buy to let. One of the things that my clients ask me to do, I do buy to let evenings, and I've got a bank full of stats, and we go through it. It's been a few months since I've done one of those, but it's in single figures, but it is net growth.
Interesting.
So that's in that there are a lot more on open rent, and I would suspect a lot of that has actually come from landlords taking their properties away from agents but still not selling them. Let's have a look and see which agents. Again, let's just have this is it. Before we do that, let's just look at this. The average rent in 2019 in Slough, 1,019. The average rent for the last year, 1,548.
Well, that is a jump.
That is a massive jump, isn't it?
So, I mean, it's insane.
That's a massive jump. Right, okay. Right, now again, we're just going to see which agents are putting up on the market. There's certain things we can tell, not a huge amount, because most of this is just going to be recycled properties you put on the market. So Oatwood's seems to be a general growth. That's good for you. Frost Partnership, pretty static. Glen flags, slight drift down. Focus, static. Romans. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, in this market, if you're static, that's pretty good. Okay. Romans, Chancellors, they seem to go up all towards the end of the year. I wonder if they're student lets, I don't know. B. Simmons, nice and static. Staples, Langhams, Flatmans, seem to be dropping, guys. Martin and Co. Connells. Move, we'll go down to top 20. Cameron King, Jackson Raw. You'll move.
Sorry, show me Jackson Rook again, Chris, just out of interest. I'm obviously now a fanboy.
Fanboy. Hashtag fanboy. There you go. You'll move elsewhere. What a great name that is. Okay. And Hilton Lock. Okay. Oh, you're great. Well done, guys. Okay. Final thoughts.
All is good in the world of a estate agency, and that is where all the risk lives. Interestingly, so anecdotally, I think this year has started tougher in our world, in our model of a estate agency. I don't have any issue with that at all. Challenging is good. We don't want to get soft around the edges, but I think there are some really great numbers. There's some really great consistency. It can all sound, me and Chris, talking positively. It can all sound a little easy breezy. It's unicorns, it's rainbows, it's wonderful. Just like, just a bit of realization, though. We've still got a couple of wars going on in the world. One drastic move from someone will impact inflation. If inflation is impacted, mortgage rates will go back up. And that is where the risk sits in the wider economy, in my opinion. We've got a general election arriving at some point. God knows what, is going to happen between now and then. But not to scaremonger.
I mean, what generally happens in the general election is things go on hold for about 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and then the net effect is, as long as there isn't a hung parliament, the dip gets caught up with a nice little run afterwards. So nothing particularly.
So not to be scared, but we're gonna have to factor that in, have to manage what you're doing in that time frame. If people are going to slow down on the buying, Are you going to take a holiday? Is that a good time? Maybe structure your holiday around a time where there's going to be less market activity and make hay whilst everyone else is away in the middle of the summer. You can think about outside the box slightly. But I think that the biggest thing, and I say to my team constantly, last year very specifically in our business, we had a really, really good year. We were really pleased, fantastic growth, and that means we've entered this year with so much risk. 1-0 up. So now is the time when you can see the goal. So double down on marketing activities, double down on pipeline build, double down on everything that ensures the rest of the year is great. And you're not just thinking, oh, it's the best week since July 2022, because that's a trap. That's the trap. And that's all I would say. It sounds negative. I'm not meaning negative. I'm saying this so the rest of the year is positive for the entire year, not just a nice blip now and then playing catch up in the summer to try and have a good autumn.
Thank you for your insight, Ben. Ladies and gentlemen, you can see why I ask Ben back on a regular basis. He certainly knows his stuff. Ben, thank you for your time today. But more importantly, thank you for everyone that's been watching this show. Thank you for your insight. If you've got any feedback, please, especially constructive, that's a posh word for do better, Watkin. Please put them in the comments or send me a DM. All the graphs that you see here are available to download off YouTube. Just scroll down to the bottom and of the description on YouTube, and you can download them. But please do not use them on social media. I do need them for my own clients. Previously in the show, I showed you what I could do with individual towns. Again, if you are a vendor, if you are an estate or letting agent and you need more business, then do check that out. And finally, as I said, thank you for everyone that's watching, and we'll see you next week on week 18 of the UK Property Market Stats Show. Thanks very much.